Well, hi, ladies, and welcome to February's Eyes Wide Open. Our topic this month is Pursuing Perfection God's Way. And so I thought I would start by sharing a story with you, something that happened to me, probably it's been about 3 years ago now. Just to give you a little history, I was bulimic for 16 years, and God released me of bulimia in 1989. So I have been free for 18 years, praise God. And probably about 3 years ago, I went to the doctor to have a routine physical done and had my cholesterol checked, and the bad cholesterol was quite high. And so, being an obsessive compulsive type of person, I radically changed my diet. Now, I lost some weight, which, wasn't that unusual, but I kept losing weight, which was kind of unusual. And so at the same time, I was starting to have some bad physical symptoms. So I decided to go to a naturopath. And the naturopath did a lot of tests, and it turns out I was heading towards diabetes. And not only diabetes, but I have some other immune issues with my immune system. And, a lot of it we are attributing back to my 16 years of bulimia. But anyway, nothing I can do about that now. So she started putting me on a number of supplements. I started to get healthy. I started to put some weight back on. But what I found out is my eating disorder head got triggered big time. Thankfully, I didn't participate in any eating disorder behaviors, but I love my new size. I went down 2 sizes. And people told me I was too thin and that I didn't look healthy, but I didn't care. I liked it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I am back in that place in my head again. I thought I would never in my life be back in that place. But the fact is, we can. When you think about the pull of the world and the culture and our flesh and the enemy, I got sucked right back into all of that. And so it was a great reminder for me that I need Jesus every day of my life, and I need his word every day of my life. And so that kind of leads me to my next story. We're talking about perfection this month. The good news is I don't struggle with food anymore, but I do struggle with my outward appearance. And this summer, when I was at a funeral, of all places, God gave me a message about appearance that would change my perception forever. The woman who started a prison ministry that I'm part of had died. Her name was Fran. This is Fran. Anyway, Fran was the neatest lady. She was 84 and she died. Up to pretty much that day, she still went to the prison. And what was so cool about Fran is women flocked to her. They wanted to talk to her. They wanted to learn from her. They wanted to pray with her. They just wanted to be around her. And the thing about Fran is she was overweight. She never wore a speck of makeup. She always had sports clothes on. But these women loved her, and it was such an inspiration to me. And so during the funeral, the ministry leader came up and was speaking about Fran, and she said something that changed my life. She said, Fran connected to women on a level that was remarkable, and it was because she had the favor of God. And it hit me. That's the secret. That's the secret, the favor of God. And I had to ask myself, why is it so important for me to look this certain way, to fit this youthful stereotype? I mean, what is it I'm really seeking? And so I had a 45-minute drive, and so God and I talked about this all the way home. And when I got home, I wrote down everything that we had talked about. And the list I wrote is I wanted to be accepted. I want to be wanted. I want to connect with the younger generation. I want to teach. I want to counsel. I want to feel valued and value added among women of all ages. I want to be loved. I want people to know me. I want people to see me. In other words, I want to have meaning and purpose in my life. In other words, you know what? It's not about my weight. It's not about how I dress. It's not about how youthful I look. It's all about having the favor of God. And God told me on the way home. I mean, I don't hear his audible voice. I feel it in my spirit that you are my beloved daughter and you already have my favor. I'm the one that's going to connect you to these women. I'm the one that's going to give them ears to listen to you because there's things I want to say through you to them. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have believed so many cultural lies. I've known that, but this was just yet one other cultural lie that I recognized I had been believing. And that was that I'm a senior now. And I tell you, I hate it. I'm 62 years old. And I have believed the lie that seniors are no longer valuable to the younger generation. And it's so not true. We have so much to teach you. So God reminded me that He is the one who's going to draw women to me. It's not going to be about what I wear, how much I weigh, all that kind of stuff. It was clear to me. I mean, and it's one of those duh messages. It's all about God. It's not about me. In other words, God gives us favor so that I might gain the favor of others to point them to God. That's what it's all about. I mean, we hear this message all the time, but it's like we don't really get it in our heads. It doesn't stick there because of this dang flesh we have. The flesh is always pulling us back to idols of dieting and exercising and body image, all of that. They're only idols. They don't give us value. It's God gives me value. God gives all of us value. I wish I could say I've licked this. But I have got to every single day continue to take these thoughts captive. I try to avoid mirrors as much as possible, but of course that's totally not impossible. And so when I see myself in the mirror and I start to feel bad about the wrinkles and the sagging and just how I look overall, I remind myself, favor of God, Kimberly. That's all you need is the favor of God. That's the beauty regimen. I like what Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. 2 Peter 1:3 says, his divine power has given us everything we need for life and godliness through our knowledge of him who called us by his glory and his goodness. And Psalm 30 verse 5 says, for his anger only lasts a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. Did you know that French women do not spend money on cosmetics, surgery, or Botox, or expensive skincare treatments? I find that it's kind of interesting considering they're one of the fashion capitals of the world. And I ran across this, and this is a woman, her name's Muriel Guiliano, and she has written a book called French Women Don't Get Facelifts and French Women Don't Get Fat. And I love what she wrote. Listen to this. She says, the culture of aging is different in America and France. America is a youth culture, so they are obsessed by eternal youth. The French laugh at that. Nothing is eternal. We are an old culture, and we have a great sentence in France. La vie commence à 50, which means life starts at 50. For French women, the scalpel is a last resort. We look at ourselves in the mirror, no nonsense, and we say, okay, maybe I need a new haircut, maybe a new dress, and then we embrace aging. We still know we can seduce and flirt, and all we want to do is live the second part of our life as healthy and as well as possible. I love that. That is so freeing. They don't spend the second half of their life obsessing about looking half their age or looking like somebody who God didn't create them to be. And this is just an example of embracing the image of God in us, embracing the uniqueness in us. And if you look throughout the Bible and you look throughout the Christian community, I love that God is using women of all ages, even the elderly women. I mean, I think right now of Joyce Meyer, who is 73 and going strong. Phenomenal Bible teacher, Kay Arthur, Precepts Ministry, 83 years old. And I have a good friend of mine, her name is Ann Giton, and she's 70. And I want to tell you a little bit about Ann. Ann's had a very interesting life. She worked in a corporate office for Redken Hair Care in New York City for, I think, most of her career. She is a gifted, phenomenal, powerful speaker. And she used to travel all over the world, actually, speaking and doing motivational speaking for the company and other venues as well. She technically retired from Redken, but has been very active. And about 7 years ago, she married a pastor, became a pastor's wife, then he retired. But they are both still very active. She co-pastors with him when he steps in for other pastors, and she leads a women's ministry. And she still is a consultant for Redken. So she still travels all over the country, speaking about telling the Redken story at different events. And she told me this a couple weeks ago, and it just really stuck with me. She said that they had asked her if she would come and speak at the 2019 Redken Symposium. And she said something like, "Are you sure you really want me to? I'm going to be 72 years old." And you know what? They want her to. And isn't that what it's all about? We want to be wanted. Being skinny, buying the every anti-aging product, wearing the latest fashions is not going to make people want us more. So my message to you and to myself is I've got to recognize that the most important thing in the world isn't all about this, but that I am so wanted by God. Jesus said, "You didn't choose me, but I chose you." Bible says that I am and you are God's special possession. You already have the favor of God, and you know what? That's everything. You know, people talk about drinking from the fountain of youth, drinking and how getting this and that. Hey, it's the favor of God. And I think this is another good passage that kind of sums it up, and it's 2 Corinthians 4, verses 16 through 18. And it says, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we're wasting away, inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For light and momentarily troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal." So when you break into your groups a little later, if you want to, talk about which story or which stories that you really related to the most. Was it the story, my story of my mental lapse, as I call it, the story of Fran and the favor of God, or discuss the scriptures? And what I want to do right now is just close with what's called the Gestalt Prayer. It was written by Dr. Fritz Perls in 1960, although I don't know why they call it a prayer. I would really call it a statement of self-declaration. And it's kind of cute. I like it. It says, "I do my thing and you do your thing. I am not in this world to live to your expectations, and you're not in this world to live up to mine. You are you, and I am I. And if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful." Okay, so I just hope, I know, you will have a wonderful group time tonight. I want you to know I'm going to be thinking about you, and I'm going to be praying for you. And I love each and every one of you, and I really pray God's favor on your life. Remember, you already have His favor. Okay, bye. See you next month.